Welcome back to the 72nd chamber.
What's up, everyone? My name's Jake Dean, and welcome to Blind Comedy Night at Blind Comedy Club. Did you hear about the blind hooker? You really had to hand it to her. How did a blind woman pierce her ear? She answered the stapler. Did you hear about the blind porcupine? He fell in love with the pincushion. How did a blind man get poke marks on his face? Learning to eat with a fork. Want to know how to surprise a blind guy? Leave the plunger in the toilet. How did a blind man drive his car? One hand on the wheel, the other on the road. A blind man walks into a bar, and then a table, and then a chair. What did the blind boy's parents do to punish him? Rearrange the furniture. Why was a blind man's leg wet? Her dog was blind too. How did a blind man meet his wife? On a blind date. What do you call a blind German? A Nazi. What do you call a blind dinosaur? A OSeyeris. That's all for tonight. I'm Jake Dean.
Hi everyone. Once again, it's your funked out freeform podcaster right here from sunny Brisbane. So, now we are on podcast 6, and this one's going to be a lengthy one. So, if you have some coffee brewing, make sure you get some, and maybe some Alka-Seltzer. Because this is a shop full of different features that we're going to be placing, as you've heard in the demo. You are going to learn quite a few things, but most of it is a wrap-up of all the previous 5 podcasts. So we'll mainly deal with, file structures, extracting files, placing them into arrays, ordering them, giving them indices to access them easily, creating nodes, also automatically generating nodes, as well as a set of functions to allow you to interact within the scene when an event occurs. There's going to be quite a few Boolean values, so there'll be quite a few states, as you've noticed inside the comic show. You'd have each of the different comics who kind of walks in either with the cane or the wheelchair, speaks, taps on the microphone before speaking. Then the noise kind of reduces a bit, and then the reactions after the jokes, whether it's an introduction or an outro, all of these are actual states. Now, with the gameplay kit, which is a kind of an association to the scene kit framework, you actually have the ability to use this nifty little class called State Machines. But before we get to that podcast, I would like to actually, give you a bit of a, a first taste of how we're going to be arranging these things and how complex it can get at some point, and how to try to avoid that by simplifying it within the rendering loop. A lot of the things happen in the rendering loop. That's kind of, it occurs very, very frequently, minimum of 60 frames per second, and at each frame, then you check all of the states, okay, whether the comic is joking, whether, people are laughing or if they're clapping, etc. We're also going to be using a lot of randomizers. I've also provided you a set of extensions and operator functions for the SCN Vector 3 object. because it doesn't come out of the box. So it's we're required to actually create these extensions, so that's easy for us, to just plus two vectors together without having to go through each of the elements, etc., etc. That kind of renders things opaque, but actually simplifies everything. We're also going to be creating some other functions inside, such as length, which is pretty much the magnitude of a vector, dot products, so that we actually can manipulate these vectors easily and do things with it. There's going to be a little bit of vector math explanation in it, specifically for moving objects in time. And I hope all of this is going to be useful for you. And, well, as usual, if you're a coder and you're already kind of quite versed with all of this stuff, you can go directly to the GitHub and actually download tutorial6.zip with all the files available in it. Otherwise, okay, well, let's get this rolling.